The Gnostic Gospel of Thomas, Part 2. Hey guys, and welcome back. It's time for Part 2 of the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas. The first part was absolutely fascinating to go through. It's been many years since I've actually read this, so it's really kind of refreshing for me to go through it again. This next part is going to be fascinating. There's a lot of very interesting things in here and a lot of unique interpretations in here, which I think you're going to find really interesting. We're going to be doing from passage 20 to 39, so that'll knock us another 20 down. So it's a total of 120 passages. So there'll be several parts of this, but I want to make sure I knock it off in chunks as opposed to trying to do one gigantic interpretation. So let's just dive right in and do the Gnostic Gospel. The disciples said to Jesus, "Tell us what heaven's kingdom is like." He said to them, "It's like a mustard seed, the smallest part of all seeds. But when it falls upon prepared soil, it produces a large plant and becomes a shelter for birds of the sky." Mary said to Jesus, "What are your disciples like?" He said, "They are like little children living in a field that is not theirs. When the owners of the field come, they will say, 'Give us back our field.' They will take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it back to them, and they return their field to them. For this reason I say, if the owners of a house know that a thief is coming, they will be on guard before the thief arrives, and will not let the thief break into their house, their domain, and steal their possessions. As for you, then, be on guard against the world. Prepare yourself with great strength, so the robbers can't find a way to get to you. For the trouble you expect will come. Let there be among you a person who understands." When the crop ripened, he came quickly, carrying a sickle, and harvested it. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. So, as we're looking at this interpretation, we're looking at this section of the text. You're going to find the first part is they ask, "What is heaven's kingdom like?" Because they're so in the physical, they don't know what the other side is like. Sounds like something we're all really striving for in life, is to understand our connection to source, our connection to the other side, and what the true nature of our reality is. He said to them, "It's like a mustard seed, the smallest of all seeds, but then it falls on the prepared soil, it produces a large plant, and becomes shelter for the birds of the sky." In other words, heaven is everything, and the more you embrace the concept of love, compassion, things that are known to be of God, then what happens is it encompasses you and becomes your shelter, becomes the thing that gives you the reality of the world. In other words, it's not a separate place. It's something here that we can experience and explore and play with and have fun with. And then in the end, it's also saying that it's everything you're experiencing. It's part of it. And there comes a level of awareness of crossing over or something of that nature. But, everything you're experiencing is part of it. And it could be the smallest mustard seed. It could be the tree that you're sheltering under. But it's a matter of realizing that, quote unquote, heaven is everything, as long as you have the good soil, as long as you are putting the positive intention towards living it and being it. And that's really what this statement's talking about. It's about you being the prepared soil, you being open and ready to receive and ready to live love. And that's how this ties into the next element of your experience and what heaven really is. And then Mary says, "What are your disciples like?" And he says, "They're like little children living in a field that is not theirs." I love this analogy because we are the individual sparks of consciousness within the one greater consciousness of God, consciousness, universe, yada yada, and we are the sit, sat, ki, and the sit, as the Hindus would say, right? And then the owners of the field come, they say, give us back our field. Basically saying, come back to the fold, come back to the oneness of God and release this physical story, this illusion of separation. Come back to us. And they take off their clothes in front of them in order to give it back, and they return their field to them. In other words, they set down their human form, and they return not only the field, but they return to them. They become part of that oneness of God again. They release the field, the physical, and return their field to them. Return back to the source. Return their field to them. They're returning all that illusion is made in the image of God. So they're returning all that illusion back to God. And they're coming back to the understanding that they are one with the source. And then it goes on to say, for this reason I say, if the owners of the house know that a thief is coming, they will be on guard before the thief arrives, and will not let the thief break into their house, their domain, and steal their possessions. But I want you to look at this. If the owners know that a thief is coming, if they believe a thief is coming, they'll be on guard. So when we get into a defensive mode or a fearful mode, we're constantly putting up our barriers, our defensive nature of self, and they're worried about things. That's a hard life to live, is to be constantly in fear and anxiety. And he goes on. He says, "As for you, then, be on guard against the world." In other words, be on guard against the things in the world that are negative. Right? Prepare yourselves with great strength, so the robbers can't find the way to get to you. For the trouble you expect will come. He's literally saying, be strong in your love, and be strong in your lack of fear, because the trouble you expect will come. But if you don't expect it, it won't come. It's literally saying that you are creating from your fears and anxieties, and once you release your fears and anxieties, the trouble stops coming, and you start creating something different. And then the next line he says, let there among you a person who understands. In other words, hopefully somebody here is understanding what I'm saying. He's literally saying, don't focus on the negative, focus on the positive, focus on the world. And in some aspects it takes strength in a world where so many people are fearful. But in reality, it's the release of that need for strength, where you come back to realizing that your world can be just an easy experience and smooth. And that's the important part of this statement, is that he's letting you know that you have the ability to actually live in a world that is much kinder to you. And the more you create a world that's kind to you, the more kind you are, and the more you can share that with other people. So then after the piece of stealing their possessions and expecting trouble, he says, when the crop ripened, he came quickly carrying a sickle and harvested it. Anyone here with 2 good ears had better listen. So, in other words, when you're putting out something good and something good arrives, grab it and go right on it. Don't go into it fearfully. Don't go into it with apprehension. Just run right over and grab the ripened fruit. Because when you start creating in that way and you start reacting that way, it becomes very natural. But if you walk through life fearful as the person who's looking for who's looking for the thief, then they're not seeing the good fruit being right in front of them, enough for them to harvest it. And so it really comes down to you understanding that when you focus on negative, the thief will come. When you focus on positive, the good fruit will come. And it really comes back to you to go, oh, I see the good fruit, and now I'm going to take that and accept that into my life. And that's the important part of this statement here. Jesus saw some babies nursing. He said to his disciples, "These nursing babies are like those who enter the Father's kingdom." They said to him, "Then shall we enter the Father's kingdom as babies?" Jesus said to them, "When you make the two into one, when you make the inner like the outer, and the outer like the inner, and the upper like the lower, when you make male and female into a single one, so that the male will not be male, nor the female be female, when you make eyes in place of an eye, a hand in place of a hand, a foot in place of a foot, an image in place of an image, then you will enter the kingdom. So this is a short passage, but I want to go ahead and jump on it because it says a lot. This statement's fascinating because it talks about, are we like the babies? And I've talked about this in other videos about you must become as a child to enter the kingdom of heaven. He's basically saying the same thing here. It's release all those fears, all those anxieties, all those stresses, all those religions, all those modalities, all those methods, techniques. It's come back to being just you, free, complete, and authentic, because that is the way back to the source, to come back to not having the beliefs in separation and the need for something to get back to. It literally is just be. And even here it says that you make the upper like the lower. In other words, just be you, and then be that in your physical form. Be open. Don't fear what people are saying. Put yourself out there. Make male and female into a single one. Now, I've had people read this quote or read something similar to this quote and try to make this a gender story. How, yes, we all have to become androgynous and all this stuff. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about there's no equality difference. We are all one. And so it doesn't matter if you're male, female, gay, straight, black, white. None of that matters. When you make us all completely equal as one with God, every part of God is valuable and is no less worthy than the love of God. Because every one of us is a part of God. So there's no part of God that is less worthy. And so what this whole piece is talking about is come to that place, make your physical form belief in that equality, that we are all one. And when you look at these statements, people will often read something and then try to fit their own personal narrative. But in reality, it has nothing to do with the male or female, has nothing to do with the gender of it. It has everything to do with the equality of it. A man and a woman not one of them is greater or less than. In the ancient writings, Adam had a first wife named Lilith, and Lilith was too independently minded. So they created Eve from Adam's rib so she'd ever be subjugated to a man. He's literally saying, cut that out. He's literally saying, no one's subjugated to anyone else. Everyone's an equal. And so come back to the idea of being an equal with everything and recognize that child in front of you probably has as much wisdom as you do, and probably clearer wisdom than you do, because that child hasn't had a lifetime of experiences and beliefs thrust upon them. So become as a child, but still be an adult and aware, is what he's literally saying here. And so it's a matter of us letting go of our belief systems and coming back to just being. And it's an interesting thing because, as I've said before, the story of Adam and Eve, again, they got in their heads and out of their hearts. They ate from the tree of knowledge and they got cast out of paradise. That's the key of this, is they're too much in their heads. We're too much in our thinking minds. But heaven is paradise. And so that's kind of the idea of this, is that come back to the simplicity before belief. And just be that. Be at one with God without needing a belief that separates you from that connection. Jesus said, I shall choose you, 1 from 1,000 and 2 from 10,000, and they will stand as a single one. His disciples said, show us the place where you are, for we must seek it. He said to them, anyone here with 2 ears had better listen. There is a light within a person of light, and it shines on the whole world. If it does not shine, it is dark. Jesus said, love your friends like your own soul. Protect them like the pupil of your eye. Jesus said, you see the sliver in your friend's eye, but you don't see the timber in your own. When you take the timber out of your own eye, then you will see well enough to remove the sliver from your friend's eye. If you do not fast from the world, you will not find the Father's kingdom. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father. So he says, I will choose you, one from 1,000 and two from 10,000, and they will stand as a single one. Now, if you think about what he's saying here, he says, there are so many people in the world who believe differently from you, and there's going to be one or two of you who will start creating and start believing this way and start hearing what I'm saying and believing what I'm saying. And then the disciples say, show us where you are. We must seek it. He says, let anyone who has 2 ears had better listen. There is a light within a person of light, and it shines on the whole world. If it does not shine, it is dark. You may have heard me say before that, you can't save the world, but you can make your part of the world so bright that the world chooses to change itself by your example. This is what this is talking about. When you yourself make yourself a person of love, you shine very brightly, and the people around you love you and want to be like you, and they strive for your calm serenity and joy of love. And the ones who aren't actively choosing that pathway are suffering in the darkness of fear. And it comes to the person of light will be 1 in 1,000 and 2 in 10,000, but that 1 in 1,000 and 2 in 10,000, they'll stand as a single one. But what happens is the single one changes the 10,000, or changes the 1,000, and the single two changes the 10,000. Because what happens is they are the light in the darkness. And like moths to the flame, fearful people come to the light because it's what they want. They want that experience. And so they come to find out what it is you've got. So if you go back up, he says, the disciple said, show us the place where you are, for we must seek it. They're literally saying, you are the bright light that's shining in our darkness. Show us how to get there. He's saying, when you put light within yourself, you will shine in the darkness to the whole world. There's a light within a person, and it shines to the whole world. If it does not shine, it is dark. And he says, love your friends like your own soul. Protect them like the pupil of your eye. In other words, they are a part of God. You are a part of God. You are one with God. And so when you see something where they need to be protected, love them enough to protect them, to help them, to do for them, to love them. And like it's an extension of yourself. Help someone like it's an extension of yourself, because it truly is, because you are one with God. And when you help someone as a extension of yourself, you're helping them step into themselves, which in turn helps you. And then it says, you see the sliver in your friend's eye, but you don't see the timber in your own eye. When you take the timber out of your own eye, then you will see well enough to remove the sliver from your friend's eye. I have often said that when the word ego means self-awareness, and you can be so self-aware that you exclude others, and then you can be so aware of others that you exclude yourself. This is a highly empathic person. And what he's saying here is the highly empathic person, which is what he's saying his disciples are. He's saying that you guys are trying to care so much for everybody else, you're not caring for yourself. And just like on the airplane, you must, put your own oxygen mask on before helping others. You've got to make sure that you are already healthy and clear, and if you're not helping yourself, then you can be no help to others. He's saying you're blinded by the plank in your eye, the timber in your own eye. You're blinded by this timber, so you really can't help. So you've got to take care of yourself equally, because you are part of God. And that's what this statement is talking about. He says, take care of yourself so you can take care of others. But don't be so selfless that you can't help them because you yourself are hindered by the timber in your eye. The next line is going to be the one that people will take very interestingly. It says, "If you do not fast from the world, you will not find the Father's kingdom. If you do not observe the Sabbath as a Sabbath, you will not see the Father." The word Sabbath is a religious word, but in the time, it literally meant a day of rest. And there's a religious Sabbath, and then there was just a Sabbath, a day of rest. And what he's saying, if you don't observe a day of rest as a day of rest, and continue to work and continue to help these other people and continue to do all these things, then you'll never get there because you yourself are not giving equally. Like he said just a couple of things earlier, the whole idea of, the male and the female and the single one and all that stuff he said earlier. He literally is saying you have to be equal with everyone else as well. And so you have to observe those days where you need rest. I do a membership group. Every so often I'll call them up and I'll just say, "Listen, guys, I just need this day off." And my membership group is like, "Oh, good. Yeah, it's good. You do that, John." They're very loving and caring people. But it comes down to the idea that you have to know and give yourself that rest. Because if you're not knowing and giving yourself that rest, then you're going to be no good for anybody else. You have to take care of you as well. That doesn't mean take care of you only. It means take care of you equally as you would take care of someone else, because you're an equal part of God as they are. And so realize you don't have to give yourself up to find God. Jesus said, "I took my stand in the midst of the world, and in flesh I appeared to them. I found them all drunk, and did not find any of them thirsty. My soul ached for the children of humanity, because they are blind in their hearts and do not see. For they came into the world empty, and they also seek to depart from the world empty. But meanwhile they are drunk. When they shake off their wine, then they will change their ways." Jesus said, "If the flesh came into being because of spirit, that is a marvel. But if the spirit came into being because of the body, that is a marvel of marvels. Yet I marvel at how this great wealth has come to dwell in this poverty." Jesus said, "Where there are 3 deities, they are divine. Where there are 2 or 1, I am with that one." Jesus said, "No prophet is welcome on his home turf. Doctors don't cure those who know them." Jesus said, "A city built on a high hill and fortified cannot fall, nor can it be hidden." Jesus said, "When you will hear in your ear, in the other ear proclaim from your rooftops. After all, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, nor does one put it in a hidden place. Rather, one puts it on a lampstand so that all can come and go and will see its light." So in the beginning of this, Jesus says, I took my stand in the midst of the world. So in other words, he came to this awareness of his oneness as God. He took the 3 elements, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and made them one. And then in the midst of the world, he found that everyone else was drunk with the physical expression of life. They were all striving for more. They were always striving to get more, and their material world possessions. And they found them all drunk in this race of physicality, this race of materialism. He says, but he didn't find them thirsty for love, thirsty for the connection to Source. He found them all thirsting for this material gain, this physical world expression. He says, "My soul ached for the children of humanity, because they are blind in their hearts and do not see. For they came into the world empty, and they also seek to depart the world empty." They came, he's literally saying they're blind in their hearts. They don't feel in their hearts anymore because they're so busy with trying to gain material possessions and build up in this physical world something of that nest egg and all that stuff. He says, they do not see that they came into the world empty. They also seek to depart the world empty. You can't take it with you. That's what they say all the time, right? You can't take it with you. Right? So you're going to leave this world without anything as well. But they don't understand that their whole life has been about this creating this material possessions, rather than realizing that they can live in a loving life and have all they ever need. Because you don't need to be a multi-billionaire, and it's not something that is needed, right? It's really kind of lacking to be constantly striving to gain more and put more into your physical coffers. And I'm not saying money's bad. If you can raise a bunch of money and help the world, that's tremendous. That's great. Wonderful. I'm not saying that money is the root of all evil, because that's not what the Bible says either. It says the love of money is the root of many evils. What he's talking about here is the drunkenness is the love of it, the love of material gain. He's drunk with the material possessions of the world. And then he goes on, but meanwhile they are drunk. They are in this lust for material possession. When they shake off their wine, then they will shake off their ways. When they release the need, when they purge away the need for excess, when they come back to their core self, and then their ways will change. Their life will change. Jesus said, if the flesh came into being because of the Spirit, that is a marvel. But if the Spirit came into being because of the body, that is the marvel of marvels. In other words, he's saying is, something coming from the other side and coming into being is marvelous. And it's one of those things that happens. That's how we're born. We're a spirit coming into the flesh, right? But the one who goes and strips away all the belief and all the things that obscure their view or their understanding of the connection with God, the one who comes back to spirit while in the physical and releases all that material need, they are the ones who are the marvel of marvels, because they have come to a greater understanding. And then the next line says, yet I marvel at how this great wealth has come to dwell in this poverty. The wealth he's talking about is not the wealth of material possessions, it's the wealth of love. He marvels about how love has come down to live in this materialistic world. And he's like, it's so antithetical, it's so opposite. It is this expression of fears and anxieties and power and struggle. And he says, yet love has come down here into this place. And though they think they have a lot of things, they're really dwelling in the poverty of not being connected to love, which is everything. It's everything. And so it's a matter of, their physical wealth is fleeting because it's an illusion in the physical. But the true wealth is within, and that's what he's saying here. Where there are three deities, they are divine. Where there are two or one, I am with that one. This is wonderful. I love this statement. The Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. The God consciousness, the Holy Spirit self-consciousness or higher self-consciousness, the physical world consciousness. Where there are three deities, they are divine. When they come to that place of understanding the God consciousness, the Holy Spirit consciousness, and the physical world consciousness as one, and they come to experience that as an expression of self, when they come to that space of understanding that they are love, and their love affects the world around them, and that they are the not only the physical world consciousness, but the higher self-consciousness or the Holy Spirit consciousness, where they come to that space of understanding that all of that is part of the one consciousness of God, then they are, what's the word he says? They are divine. People like yourself who come to this place are wanting to know that expression, the understanding that God is the great consciousness, and we are truly our Holy Spirit. The physical world is just us being blinded about our Holy Spirit self. And so it's the understanding of that triune, of of divinity that he says you're divine. But then he says, where there are two or one, I am with that one. So in other words, the people who don't understand, he's sharing that they are. He's with that one, sharing that they are divine. He's there to help them with that divine, right? He's giving this information. He's showing them that they are divine. And when you look at this, he's saying that's why he's here. That's why he's doing the work he's doing. That's why I do YouTube channels, because I want to share the information that he was bringing. And so he literally is saying, if you understand and you're already there, then I'm not for you. I'm here for the ones who aren't already there, who aren't all the way to that space yet. And I'm now putting myself out there to put this information out. And he oftentimes, and he doesn't say it here, but oftentimes says, let those who have ears to hear. It's just like when I say, don't believe what I'm saying unless it rings true to your heart. Because it really does come down to you being in a place where you can be open enough to accept it. Let me move on. No prophet is welcome in his home turf. Doctors don't cure those who know them. This is the story I tell of Bet Shean. Coming to that town, they couldn't believe Joshua could do healings because he was the son of a carpenter that they knew. It's the same situation here. All of this comes from belief, and so no one can be understood or taken as factual if they know them as somebody from the material world. If they know them as, who's this guy to say this? I remember being at Renaissance festivals and having just amazing conversations with people who only knew me as a stage act. But the people who knew me as the actor who came up through the Renaissance Festival system, they all had these preconceived notions or beliefs about me. And many of them were like, don't listen to him, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And yet I was still speaking the same stuff I'm speaking today. And the people who listened, so many of them heard what I said and took off and changed their life. And many of them didn't. And I was fine either way, because it's not my place to sway or try to persuade someone to be something other than what they want to be, because that's their choice, right? But no one can, people will not know you. People who know you as the guy who lived next door are going to have a hard time believing anything wise is coming from you. A city built on a high hill, Jesus said, a city built on a high hill can be high hill and fortified cannot fall, nor can it be hidden. City on a high hill and fortified cannot fall. When you're confident in your belief, and you're standing on the high hill confident in your belief, you can't hide it. I often have people try to knock me down my hill, and I say to them very confidently, I don't feel the need to defend my faith because I'm very confident in it. And when they're trying to knock you off the hill, they're trying to shake your faith. But my faith is fortified because I believe it, and I know it's my truth. Do I ask them to climb my hill and be on my hill with me? No, because it's not my hill. They have to make their own hill and come to their own fortifications of that hill. But my fortifications aren't designed to be defensive. My fortifications are designed to be impenetrable. Nothing can get in to affect me if I believe, if I have faith, and I'm on a high hill. Now, right now I'm on a high hill because I'm very public about my truth, my fortification, as it were, right? I'm very public about what I believe. And I'm always overjoyed when I see the people who are like, I understand this, or I hear the word resonate every day. Oh, this resonates with me. I don't expect you to believe me. I just want you to hear what I'm saying. And if it makes sense to you, great. If it doesn't make sense to you, great. It's a matter of I'm comfortable with my beliefs. And I don't really, in any way, shape, or form, need to be knocked down. Oftentimes, like this morning, I had a video where somebody was like, I didn't like the way you told that story. You said it with too much staccato, and it really affected my listening. I don't care. Because you had this one experience, it doesn't mean that I'm going to change everything I do. I'm not going to become something different. You're the only one who said that. So this person was the only one who said that. So to me, it was like, that was his judgment. And the fact that he would come in and tell me I was doing something wrong was just him trying to knock me off my hill. And I'm fine with the way I did it. And so that's the way I do it, right? Moving on. Jesus said, what you will hear in your ear, in other ear proclaim from your rooftops. In other words, what you get, information you get, what truth you get, say it to other people from your rooftops loudly. Be proud of it. That's what YouTube is for me. It's me speaking from my rooftops into other people's ears. What you will hear in your ear, in other ear proclaim from your rooftops. So you're like, listen, this is what I believe. Believe it or not, I don't care. But I'm saying it loud. I'm saying it in a way that people will then go, oh, okay, I know what he believes. Does it ring true to me? Yeah, it does, or it doesn't. After all, no one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket, nor does one put it in a hidden place. Rather, one puts it on a lampstand so that those who come and go will see its light. In other words, shine so bright that the world chooses to stand in that light and become lights themselves. That's what I've been saying all along. Can't save the world, but you can make your part so bright that people come to your light. And that's exactly what this is saying. Don't be timid or hide your beliefs. Stand right out there. Let the world see your belief in love and equality. Let the world see your belief, and so that they can go, wow, they're right. This feels right to me. And I want to be more like them. And so that's the way the world changes, is by people choosing to take that leap and become that light. Jesus said, if a blind person leads a blind person, both of them will fall into a hole. Jesus said, one can't enter a strong person's house and take it by force without tying his hands. Then one can loot his house. Jesus said, do not fret from morning to evening and from evening to morning about your food, what you're going to eat, or about your clothing, what are you going to wear. You're much better than the lilies, which neither card nor spin. As for you, when you have no garment, what will you put on? Who might add to your stature? That very one will give you your garment. His disciples said, when will you appear to us, and when will we see you? Jesus said, when you strip without being ashamed, and you take your clothes and put them under your feet like a little son, and trample them, then you will see the Son of the Living One, and you will not be afraid. Jesus said, often you have desired to hear these sayings that I am speaking to you, and you have one else from whom to hear them. There will be days when you will seek me, and you will not find me. Jesus said, the Pharisees and scholars have taken the keys of knowledge and have hidden them. They have not entered, nor have they allowed those who want to enter to do so. As for you, be as sly as snakes and simple as doves. And so in this first piece here, Jesus says, if a blind person leads a blind person, both will fall into the hole. This is what religion is doing, they're giving you a pathway without having eyes to see where the pathway leads. And they're saying you must believe as we believe, and you become blinded as they're blind, and you lose this connection to source that's already innate within you. It's already there. God is at the bottom of your breath, not at the bottom of a prayer or a mantra or any sort of crystal or sage or any old age or new age dogma. None of it's necessary. It's you at the bottom of your breath are one with God already. And the person who's leading you down those pathways are leading you into the wandering in the wilderness. And when you wander in the wilderness, you will never find your way until you turn that path back to yourself. Come back to who you are, one with God already. Because the paths will take you away, will take you off into the wilderness of your mind, and you won't find the passage. It says, and then it says, one can enter a strong person's house and take it by force. One can't enter a strong person's house and take it by force without tying his hands. Then one can loot his house. In other words, if you are strong in your convictions and beliefs, no one can come into your house and rob you unless you allow them to tie your hands, unless you get tied up into what they're saying, unless you drop down into their beliefs and start going down the rabbit holes with them. You become blind like they're blind. And so it's literally saying, stay strong in your faith. And no one can loot your house if you are not tied by some belief that's holding you back from finding God at the bottom of your breath. Jesus said, do not fret from morning to evening, evening to morning about your food, about your clothes. What are you going to wear? He says all of those material world possessions, all of those desires for gluttony and for wealth and all those things, you can put all them on. But all they are is showing off to the people that are also down in this wilderness with you, right? All they are is really just being the material possessions rather than being the one with source. Your garments come from you. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't have a diverse wardrobe anymore. I used to have like business suits and clothes, and almost every day now you'll see me wear a T-shirt, and specifically a long sleeve T-shirt. I love them, right? I wear shorts. I wear long sleeve T-shirts. I wear sweatpants a lot because they're fun and they're easy. But I sometimes will throw on some jeans. That's pretty much the bulk of what I wear. And to me, it's not about having the latest, greatest fashion sense. I don't even like to put logos on my shirts. Like people get the T-shirts with the words and stuff. I've had T-shirts made, and sometimes I'll wear them. But I very rarely wear anything that has any logo on it anywhere. Because to me, it's just material stuff. I just would rather have a simple shirt that I can put on, simple pair of pants I can put on, and go about my day. It's a matter of, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. Steve Jobs always wore the same shirt and the same pair of jeans and the same sneakers. And his closet was filled with those shirts, those jeans, and those sneakers. And so he put on the same clothes every day. And his idea was, he says, because I don't have to think about those material things. I put this on and I go about my day. And I can put my mind and my direction toward better things. And that's a beautiful statement, really, because it's kind of releasing from the material possession of the world and getting more on purpose, which is important. And then he says, as for you, when you have no garment, what will you put on? Who might add to your stature, that everyone will give you your garment? Think about that. Who you are, what you're putting out. People will define you, and they'll share who you are, and God will share who you are. And it's a matter of you coming out and just saying, this is who I am, my authentic self. And you're going to clothe me in the way your mind sees me. But I'm going to be clothed by my belief that this is who I truly am. And who I truly am is this individual who is one with God, one with Source, one with consciousness, one with everyone. And I am living into this expression. And by living into this expression of being one, I am clothed in the way I am clothed, as me. I'm not putting on airs that I need to put on a Armani suit. I am putting on a T-shirt because it doesn't matter if I have an Armani suit. It only matters that I'm me. When I did the corporate world, I always wore ties and suits and all this stuff. When I quit doing corporate work, I got rid of all of it. because I don't like wearing ties. I don't like the airs of it, right? And so to me, it comes down to just being authentic, just being yourself. And all the things on the outskirts, the people who buy the $1,000 watches, why? $1,000 watch doesn't tell time any better than a $100 watch. It just means I have a status symbol. It's just a material possession, right? And it's that striving towards that material possession that is kind of like it's become your God. The love of money is the root of all evil, root of many evils, many evils. The love of money, right? Buying the $1,000 watch is the love of that $1,000 watch. It's to say, look, I've got a $1,000 watch. That's what that's about. Then it says, the disciple says, when will you appear to us, and when will we see you? And Jesus said, when you strip without being ashamed, and you take your clothes and put them under your feet like little children, trample them, then you will see the Son of the Living One. You'll not be afraid. In other words, when you put down all of this belief and all of these concepts and this desire to be materialistic wealthy, and you set down the physical world minutia that is in the head and not of the heart. When you come to that space, then you're going to see me, and you will not be afraid. You strip without being ashamed. I don't have the greatest shirt. Oh, I'm ashamed because I'm not wearing the latest fad. Right? When you strip and come down to just being basic in you, and you don't need to impress anybody, then you're going to find Jeshua. You're going to find that who he was, because who he was is a man. I am the Son of Man, is what he said. He's just a man. He didn't wear the big fancy Roman garments. He didn't wear all the stuff. He was given his clothes by benefactors. He was fed by benefactors. He was taken care of by benefactors. He was, fawned over by the people who followed him, right? But he had stripped away everything. All he had was his words and his belief, and that's what he gave to the world. And those words, those beliefs, were more valuable than any $1,000 watch will ever be. And that's the important part of this, is to realize that there's no need for anything other than your connection to Source. Because when you leave this world, the watch ain't going with you unless it's going to be buried in the physical. It may go into the grave with you, but you're not in the grave. You leave the body. Jesus said, often you have desired to hear these things that I am speaking to you, and you have no one else from whom to hear them. There will be these days when you seek me and you will not find me. What he's saying in this statement is not to say, look, I'm going to my death and all this stuff. He's saying to them, you need to stand on your own 2 feet. You need to step into your belief and not need somebody outside of yourself to tell you what to believe. You need to come to your belief, and you need to step up there and realize that it has to be you who stands on your high hill and shines your light. It has to be you who is strong in your convictions of your belief. It has to be you who loves openly, freely, and lives your authentic self. Because I can't do it for you. That's what he's saying. He's saying, I'm not going to be here for you. You have to do this. This is your job. Each one of us is supposed to come to that space of divinity. Greater works than I've done you will do. It was not a blowing wind up somebody's skirt. It was literally saying, this is who you are. And you have to do it without me. And I've talked about going to the cross and having that going to the cross basically because he had to go away. He had to take him out of the equation so that the information can go forward. And it did. I've often had people who say, but he failed because all those people were persecuted. He didn't fail. What are we talking about right now, 2,000 years later? His information. It wasn't a failure in any way, shape, or form. The information made it into the physical world, and now the information is coming out. Time is not linear. It's a matter of here and now that information has come, and now that information is reaching the ears that can hear it. And that's the important part of this. Doesn't matter when it happens, it's just a matter that it happens. And it's happening now, in this time frame. And that's exciting. And then it says, the Pharisees and scholars have taken the keys of knowledge and have hidden them. They have not entered, nor have they allowed those who want to enter to do so. As for you, be sly as snakes and simple as doves. He's literally saying the religions are holding on to stuff and trying to keep you from having your empowerment, and keeping you from becoming divine. And if you think about Christianity in general, you're born in sin, your life is to feel guilty that Jesus died for our sins. It literally is keeping you into this space of a cage. You are guilty, and you're a sinner, and you're a terrible person, and you're all these things, and that's what religion does. It cages you so that you can't step into your divinity and become empowered. But that's what this time is. It's the stripping away of religion right now. That's why Christianity, and specifically Catholicism and Protestantism, have lost 51% of their congregations over the past 20 years. It literally, religions are falling to the wayside as we speak. But what's really interesting about that is the conversations that you and I are having are becoming bigger and broader and reaching more people. And the world is becoming more loving because of what we're doing. And the people who aren't able to go there with us, they're going to get loud, and they're going to get scream, they're going to yell, they're going to pass, legislations to hurt people and do all these things. Doesn't matter. That's just them being loud at the last minute because they're losing. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. That's what Socrates said. They're slandering. They're being loud because they're losing, because love is winning. And as long as more of us can come back to being just that loving person and start spreading that love across the world, there's no way they can ever come back and win. Our hands aren't tied in our houses. We're on top of our mountains, shining brightly in our confident belief. We're shining a light on the world, and the people who see that light are coming to us. The people who are still in darkness are staying far away. So he said to them, there's a light within a person of light who shines on the whole world. If it does not shine, then it is dark, right? So the people who are in darkness will see darkness, but the darkness is always drowned out by the light. And the more you shine so bright in love and compassion and live into that feeling, then the people who want to have that feeling are going to be drawn to you and become more like you. And the people in darkness are going to be blinded by the light. Sounds like a song, right? And in the end, the world will become a bright place, and the dark will be drowned out, and we will live in equality. And we will be the marvel of marvels, raising this world to that loving place, that oneness with Source, to raising the spirit, just because the positive always wins. The negative may seem like it has small wins on the battlefield, but in the end, the positive always wins. So that's my thought on part 2 of the Gospel of Thomas. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I know I certainly have, and I'm looking forward to diving into part 3 in the next week or so. So you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. The Level Up Spirit channel is solely funded by your generous donations and purchases of private readings and merchandise. Please go to johnofnew.com or use the donation link below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment.